Okay, so this is the Marvis scripture composed by two Buddhas, right? One is, the first half is by Immortal Li, and the second half is by Holy Teacher. So we'll do the first half is Immortal Li, okay? So he said, the first line, you remember every seventh character of each line it rhymes, okay? So it rhymes, okay, every seventh character. So the first line says basically, a person that doesn't have any, say, demands or requests, or more like, I guess, yeah, you could say, I don't want to say ambitions, but that doesn't have, basically demands in terms of materially, okay? I mean, who's constantly, okay, it's a noble character. We'll talk about that. And then it says, the first condition is to what? Not to seek wealth and fame. That's the more. This is the more description. A more specific description of what type of demands that they do not or requests that they're not looking for, which is they're not looking for wealth, fame, or fortune, or whatever. Okay, a clear understanding of an aspiration is the first condition. All right, the first condition. So basically, the second half elaborates more on what the first half is saying. Okay, so basically, it just means that we don't, a person of noble character, who's, you can say, it's a superior person, or one who's seeking enlightenment. It's basically that's probably another way of describing. Doesn't search, doesn't make requests, or doesn't have demands about being wealthy, famous, power, all that stuff. Okay, so that's what it means. And also, one who also understands what the aspiration is. What is the highest aspiration? So the highest aspiration for most people, right? Most normal people is to have fame, wealth, or status, right? Or power, right? I mean, that's for most people, right? But for an enlightened person who's seeking enlightenment, that's not it. That's not the highest aspiration. Aspiration means, you can say goal, right? Goal or wish or whatever, right? Or ambition is to what? Seek enlightenment. So that's what the aspiration means. Okay. So it'll elaborate further down. Okay. So what that aspiration is. Okay. Okay. So that's what that first line means. Okay. So that sets the tone for the whole scripture. So the second, our original pure heart is genuinely, it's always sincere. It's always deeply sincere. It has no motive, and it's natural. It has no, it has no human conditions, none of that, right? And so it never grows old. It just means that it never ages. It doesn't change. Another way, a more elaborate way, a more descriptive says, when it says it doesn't grow old, means it doesn't change over time. Okay, whereas human nature changes over time, right? Right? When we're young, we may have certain temperament, demeanors, whatever, wishes, whatever, outlooks, views, perspectives, whatever. Then as we get older, it changes over time, right? Just like our temperament changes over time, right? So whereas our true nature doesn't change over time. It's always the same. It's eternal. It's constant, right? So that's what it means, okay? And it doesn't need any motives. It has no motives. It has no external motivation. It always is, always will be, always has been, right? It doesn't have any motive. It just is. Okay, that's your Buddha nature. All right. So that's what that. So basically, it elaborates. You could say that's a further description of one of the qualities of our Buddha nature. Okay. Okay. So the third line is we should constantly self-reflect to make the Buddha nature shine brightly, or to be more brilliant, dazzling. Okay, shine brightly, right? That's it. And we should shatter or smash all illusions and worries. That is to become enlightened. So that's the aspiration. Okay, so how do we reveal, if you will, or express what the line 2 says about our Buddha nature? How do we do that? We self-reflect. That's one way. I mean, that's not the only way, but that's one way. So, right? So to be able to reveal how pure, how genuine, how sincere, how natural, constant our Buddha nature is, one way to do it is to reflect. Reflect constantly, okay? Constantly reflect, self-reflect. And what I'm saying, self-reflect, okay? So that way our Buddha nature will be, it's not that our Buddha nature is not bright. It's always bright. It's always. It's just that we reveal it now, okay? Because we no longer have, it's no longer covered up by those desires, by the clouds of desires or ambitions or wishful thinking, etc., right? Okay? So therefore, once that's removed, what's left is your bright, true nature, your Buddha nature, right? And then, so what is the aspiration? We should smash or break out all our illusions, okay, our delusions and worries, worries or concerns about what? About what the first line says, right? About having wealth, having fame, having status, power, etc. Right? So that's the line 3 is a further elaboration of what line 1 and line 2 is talking about. Okay? So number 4, line 4, a surge of righteous spirit that is magnanimous. Okay, literally, how means something that's extremely broad, grand, vast. So we use magnanimous. Second half is a piece of moral purity. Okay, 陈xiao, literally, Bing Xing, it's like a pure heart, jade pure heart. It elevates or lifts one out of this earthly realm. Okay, so literally, the last 2 words of the second part of that line means noise or clamor that stirs the dust, which means it's talking about getting enmeshed or mired in this earthly realm or material realm. Okay, so that's what it means. So what line 4 basically is saying, that it's describing that if we truly understand our aspiration, right? What our primary goal, you can say goal is, okay, or objective is, right? Okay, and how marvelous that Buddha nature is, and how bright it is once it's not covered up by all these earthly desires, ambitions, wishes, etc., then it provides a surge, right? A you can say a burst of energy. You can say that, right? It's like a burst of energy that is so broad, magnanimous, so generous. You can say so general, so broad, so encompassing. Okay, all that. That's what magnanimous means. Okay, and it's like a pure jade, right? Like a pure jade-like heart. That's what it means. Okay, the second half, that can help us lift us out of this earthly realm. Okay, so that's what that 4th line means. Okay, so 5th line is we clearly know today what life's most valuable treasure is, for it is nothing more than to follow our magnificent true nature. Okay, so once we understand what the previous line says, because remember, this is at the Dharma class, right? Those of us who are attending Dharma classes are seeking enlightenment, hopefully, right? Okay, so now you realize, after receiving the 3 treasures, you realize that, we have this valuable treasure, this most valuable treasure that's even more valuable than all the gold and diamonds and treasures of the world, okay? Because it's eternal, it's etc., okay, all that stuff. So it's the most valuable. And we realize not only do we have a Buddha nature, but we also realize that the Buddha nature came from this one, where its true home is, its permanent home, its original home, you can say that. And that we have to follow that true nature, follow that path, follow that magnificent true nature. Okay? So line number 6 is we should therefore maintain this pure heart and mind, and nurture our true nature. And that is truly, that's called following the Tao. Okay, when we follow the, or when we are with the Tao, we are maintaining this pure heart, right? The pure heart that's described, right, in line 2, right? Line 2. Okay. All right. Okay. And by maintaining this proper middle path, right? We'll get to that middle path. We won't falter, we won't regress, or fall backwards. Okay. So that's what it means. Okay. So we have to maintain proper middle path. It literally means righteousness and fairness. Little translation there, but it just means the middle path. Okay, the proper path, the doctrine of the mean, the middle way. That's what Buddha said, right? Madhyamika. Okay, all that stuff. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, all right. So then line 7 is we should constantly embrace or cherish, embrace the middle way. Okay, Zhongyong, which I just and we should. And if we could do that, if we could embrace constantly this middle path, our demeanor or our conducts, really, it literally means demeanor, 外表, so you can say demeanor, external appearance, but it just means our conducts and behavior. Really, it's our thoughts, our conducts, and our behavior will not be bad, will not be bad, right? We won't be bad. Okay, we won't be bad people. In other words, okay, if we follow this middle path, if we embrace the middle path. Okay, all right, okay, and we all know what the middle path is, right? We the previous Dharma class, the scripture, they talked about it too. So we'll that. But then the last line of this first page is, how can the circumstances disturb or stir up our hearts and minds? Okay. And we should, and it does. I mean, in reality, it does. For most people, it does. All right. So the way out of it is to what? We have to have less desires. Just like on the very first line, right? Says, we should not have those. We should have less desires. And as long as we maintain this true honesty, the sincere honesty, right, or genuineness, right, that's talked about in line 2, right, we can get rid of our, you can say, unwanted thoughts, or thoughts that are not pure, not good. Okay, so that's what it means. All right. So once you get rid of these thoughts, no circumstances can stir up our hearts and minds, or disturb our hearts and minds. Okay? So, all right, so that's line number 7. Okay, so now we go to the next page. If we let external things, literally it means external things, but it means forms, emotions, thoughts, etc. Bind or bother ourselves. Okay, we know that we should not waver from these. You can say these tests or whatever, these adversities, or like you say, like troubles, disturb, etc. Okay. Another way of saying is, oftentimes we waver, we vacillate when we are faced with things that we should not do, that we know we should not do. Okay, so that's what that line means. That oftentimes we kind of hesitate, or we waver, we don't know what is right. I mean, what we should do or not do sometimes. Okay, so especially when we know there are things that we shouldn't do, we sometimes waver. Okay, so we have doubts, in other words. Okay, or you can say our sincerity is not firm enough, or we are not we're not at one, or we're not following the middle path. Okay, so that's right. Okay, so the next line is, not only could we not carry out our heavenly mandate, but we will lose our virtues and reputation and find it difficult to avoid calamities. So that's a consequence of the previous line saying, if, let's say, we vacillate, we waver from the path of the Tao, all right, of the middle path, middle way, and let's say we do things that are wrong, whether we know it or not, okay, then the consequence is that what our heavenly mandate? We won't carry our heavenly mandate. Basically, fulfill your aspiration. Okay, become enlightened. That's the broadest way. Okay, that's the broadest way of saying. I mean, there are other mandates, but in this case, in the broader sense, it's to become enlightened in the sense. Okay, then we would also not only lose our virtues and reputation, right? But we could also find it difficult to avoid calamities because what? We create karma, right? When we do things. I mean, see, this is on a negative light. I mean, obviously, when we do good things, we create good karma. But calamities come about is because we have bad karma, right? So that's what. Okay, so that's the elaboration. All right. So that's the result. Okay, when we waver, when we do things that we shouldn't do, this is what will happen. All right. Okay, next line. So therefore, we must do our best to become enlightened. Okay. So the only way out is to stay on the middle path, right? To follow the Tao, you can say that, right? To follow that highest aspiration, right? Okay, so we must do our best to become enlightened. For benevolence or humanity and righteousness or virtues and morality is the true, noble, or refined practice, right? Just like the very first line that says it's of noble character, right? We have something that's, you can say it's the highest level. You can say the highest level, okay? Of a conduct, okay, of what a human could achieve. So that's what that line means, okay. And the next line means definitely we should not be confused or ignorant to discard or not follow the Tao or the middle way, okay, or the path. For we should firmly keep in mind that we have to conform to Tao in our words and actions, okay. So just basically it's just reiterating what was said previously at the end of last first page or something, said that we should just maintain that genuine sincerity, that pure heart, and we should keep it in mind, right? We should always be mindful of it, okay, and to follow this Tao, to follow our true nature. That's another am I saying, in our words and actions, okay. All right. And the next line means we should always display or show out, manifest our highest sincerity, okay? For the most beautiful, true heart and mind will not wither. That's what it means, okay? It just means, another way of saying is that it's our true heart and mind is the most beautiful, or you can say most natural, the permanent, for it needs no polishing. It's naturally pure. It's naturally perfect. So it doesn't need any polishing, like a gemstone, like a diamond or a precious stone. All right. So that's why we should, if we could constantly display or manifest that sincerity, okay, or our Buddha nature, you can say our pure goodness, the purity of our true nature, Buddha nature, then that beautiful, you can say most beautiful heart and mind, true heart and mind, won't wither, won't die. It's not because it's always constant, right? It's not like our human nature, right? Where we have emotions, where we have it's not constant. That this is always constant, so it's will not wither. Literally, it won't change. Okay, that's what it means. All right. So being at one with our true selves, our essence and spirit is not diminished or waned or wasted. For it can expand to encompass everything. Yeah. So once we could rid ourselves of these unwanted thoughts, desire, all those things, worldly, aspirations, and focus on aspiring for enlightenment, right? Okay. Then we will follow the middle way, the middle path. Then what? Then what will result is that our true nature, that perfection, that perfect, pure goodness, if you will what? It's not diminished. Will naturally express itself. So therefore, it's not diminished, right? It won't be diminished. It won't wane, okay? It won't fade away, okay? And if we could constantly follow that, apply that, then it can encompass everything. You can say, yeah, it encompasses everything. You can say it can tolerate, it can accept. Maybe that's another word, a better word of saying. It can accept everything. Okay. In other words, why? Why can I accept everything? Because what? If there's no self, there's no longer sense of self, of what? You and I, right? The four images, right, that we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? In the previous scripture, the four images, right? There's the I image, the you image, the worldly image, and the longevity, right? Whatever, I mean, those four images. There's no longer those distinctions or discriminations or biases. So therefore, you can our Buddha nature can encompass everything or can tolerate everything. That's no problem. There's no problem. Okay, there's no sense of ego anymore. No sense of I. Okay, or I or you. What's that? Yeah. So that's okay. So that's why it can. That's how it can encompass everything. Okay, it can. Another way of saying this, it can encompass. Maybe sounds too abstract or whatever. Another more pragmatic way of saying is to explain is to say it can tolerate, it can accept anything or everything. Okay, it can. There's no longer that sense of I. So you can, or I or you. There's a difference, the discrimination, bias. Okay, none of that. All right, that's what it means. Okay. So the last line, I guess the last line of this is, really this is the last line of Immortal Li's scripture, okay? He says, this everlasting Tao is what we should truly follow or practice, okay? For there's no need to be so busy and toiling in this material world. Or another way of saying this, if we sincerely practice this everlasting Tao, then there's no need to toil in this world. So that's how he concludes this way. He says, yeah, and because there's no need to toil or labor in this world, because what? You're not seeking fame, wealth, and power. So that's not. So there's no need, right? So there's no need to what? To work so hard, so strenuously to achieve those things. So there's no need to toil in this world if you're no longer aiming for those objectives, right? Right. So I mean, it doesn't mean that you don't have to work. No, you still work, but there's no need to be what?
You focus every day.
Right. Be bound by those worldly those worldly aims. So that's what it means. So that's why. So once you understand, we have this higher aspiration, right, which is to attain enlightenment, right? So therefore, we should what? Follow, practice this Tao, this everlasting Tao. For that is the truth. Everything else is not true, because the Tao never changes. It's always everlasting. Whereas fame, wealth, power, they could change. Today you could be wealthy. Tomorrow you could be broke. So that's what I'm saying. So those are not eternal. Those are not eternal, right?
And this planet every day is simple.
Right. Everything is not eternal. So that's why we should. So therefore, there's no need to kill yourself to try to achieve those wealth, fame, power, etc. Right. So that's the last line of what Immortal Li is saying. So that basically that's right. So it's kind of like. If you read the whole thing in its context, in its entirety, and you view the whole thing, that's basically the general message, right? It follows from line 1 to the last line. Okay, so that's the first half, right, of the marvelous scripture. Yeah, are there red characters, right? Those red words. You didn't see any red words, Chinese words. There are red words. Yeah, those are the red words that were from the that make up that. Those two words, part of what we call Marvis Treasure, that we talked about last week, right? Last week we showed it, right? Remember they showed it, right? The Chinese, that they showed the two words written in red, right? In red, okay. So those of you who remember from last week, right? So I don't want to, so that's what those red words are. Underline means those words are connected, as part of the stroke, it's a stroke of the character, okay. So it's two characters. It's basically this first character from Immortal Li is zi, right? Zi means logistics. That talked about it last week. Didn't we talk about it last week? Yeah, Tai talked about it. Yeah, last week. So I don't want to We have some time, but we can talk about it more in detail after I'm finished. But so that's the first character, right? So those are in red, okay? So those are the red characters, all right? So those red words make up another poem or scripture, okay? So within a poem, which is we call it scripture, but it's poem. Yeah.
These are the 2 words.
Yeah, those are the 2 words. Yeah. So the first word in red is that word. It's the first word. Okay.
It's from this.
Yeah, it's from that. It's from that.
From this marvelous
Right.
scripture.
So right now we're talking about this whole scripture. Okay, we're talking about, but within it, marked in red, are these 2 words. Okay, these 2 words, which make up another poem or scripture. Okay, it's another poem. Okay, so that's what we call it marvelous, because it's like a poem within a poem. Okay, so I don't want to. So I don't want to go into too much technical detail. So so now we can go to the next half, second half of the whole body of scripture, and that's written by, composed by holy teacher. Okay, right. That's the next page. Okay. So first line of this one says basically forms of every description. Literally, it means all forms of all shades, but it's the same thing. Forms of every description are like a swamp. Okay, swamp. It's like a quicksand. It's like a there are forms of every description. They're like it's like a trap. You can say that. Okay, they're like a swamp. Okay, that's the first half. Second half means prudence and vigilance. Literally, it means discipline and caution. We could dispel with prudence and vigilance. You could dispel or get rid of fear and calamities. Okay, so what he's saying is that do not be attached to forms, okay, in this material world. Okay, that's because they're like a swamp. You get bogged down. You're gonna get mired. You're gonna get lost in it. You're not gonna come out. You're not gonna become enlightened. In other words, you're gonna get bogged down. You're gonna get dragged down. Okay, that's another way of saying. Okay, so we should not become attached to the forms. Okay, literally, forms. You know what forms are, right? It's not just objects. It's even your thoughts. Anything that's material, okay, physical, metaphysical, okay, all that stuff, okay? Anything that's not non-eternal, maybe that's another way of saying, okay, anything that's not, excuse me?
About people.
People are non-eternal. Your body, your physical body is not eternal, right? Your Buddha nature is eternal, all right? So that's our forms, okay? Family, that's a form too, okay? Family, husband, spouses, children, parents, those are all forms. Okay, they are. So we should not be too attached. Okay, yes, as human beings, we have propriety. That's called middle way, right? We have ways of behavior, right? That dictates, how we should treat our parents, how we should treat our children, how we should treat our spouses, how we should treat our friends, how we should treat our siblings, how we should treat our elders, the leaders or the followers, all that. That's the middle way. Okay, that's Confucianism, right? That's called the 5 relationships, all that stuff, 8 virtues, all that stuff. Okay, so that's the middle way. But that's all the middle way. That's all really part of Tao. But those are not forms. Those are just conducts, practices. Okay, you can say a Dharma is a form too, but we have to be careful. That's too high. That's too high a level. We're talking about basics here. Okay, all right.
We still have to perform our proper role.
Yeah, because we're still human.
Society.
We're still human.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we do not get obsessed with it.
Yeah, or
Okay, so
become
do not
trapped.
Get too
Right.
trapped or attached to it.
Right. So then that's really the middle way. That's what middle way implies also. Okay, means. Okay, the middle path, the middle way. Okay, so because you're still human, right? We're still human. We're not yet Buddhas. Not yet, right? We're not yet Buddhas. Because we're humans, we're still in this world, in this society, so you still have to behave, right? We still have to conduct ourselves in a certain manner. And that's the middle way, okay, the middle path, all right? All right, okay? But we cannot be attached to any form, okay? So that's what the first line says. So it says with prudence and discipline. That means we have to be cautious. We have to have discipline, okay? We have to discipline. That's the what? That's really part of our the six paramitas, right? Wisdom, and 戒跟知, right? Discipline and wisdom, right? Okay, so that's part of the 6 paramitas, okay? We have to apply our 6 paramitas to what? to not to allow fear, not to become fearful, not to be afraid, okay? And also to, if we practice 6 paramitas, we can also avoid calamities, okay? So anyway, all right, okay? All right, so the second line is, okay, 情欲获利. Yeah, literally it means material goods and benefits. That's what literally that means. But it just means passions and fortunes are occurring now. Fortunes, it could be good or bad, okay? Passions could be good or bad too, right? Okay? Pleasure, pain, etc., right? Okay, good or bad. All right? So passions and fortunes are happening today, now. So we have to control our desires and our attachments. By controlling desires and attachments is true freedom, okay? Or literally free and unfettered. Unfettered means unchained, okay? Okay, so even though we are in this human world, right? We are subject to passions and fortunes. We are, right? Nobody can say that, we have no passion, we have no fortunes. No. Even Buddhas, it even happened to Buddhas. Okay? It happened to Jesus. It happened to everybody. There's always passion. There will be passion. There will be pleasure and pain. I don't care. There will be pleasure and pain. As long as you have a human body, you're going to have a pleasure and pain. As long as you have a human mind, you're going to have passion. Right? We're going to have fortune. So we all are subject to that. Even Buddhas. That's why they say they're happy now. But the way out, the second half, is that we should discipline ourselves, control our desires, and not have attachments. Right? That's true freedom. That's true liberation. That's to break the bonds of this earthly realm. And that's how you become enlightened. Right? To become enlightened is to be able to, it's what we call true freedom, right? True liberation, right? Right? So that's what this second line is, okay? Okay, so line 3. We must know that attachments and confusion or wrong views is like a dark cloud cover. Okay, this is just a further elaboration of what the attachments are. Okay, and with firm determination, we can say willpower or faith, we can become upright or worthy persons or superior beings. Okay, not yet enlightened. Okay, we're on the path towards enlightenment. That's another way of saying. So this is just a further elaboration of the first 2 lines. Okay, we know that, and really from the first half too of the scripture, right? We talk about that, how desires, attachments can cover up our that beautiful, perfect, bright Buddha nature. So same thing. So if we have attachments, right, to our desires or forms from the first line, and we have confusion, that means we have wrong views, right? We are stubborn. We don't change our views, our ways, our incorrect views. Okay, it's a dark cloud cover. It covers the sun. It covers our bright Buddha nature. So therefore, we're lost. We're confused. We don't know what's the right way. We don't know. We become stuck in the swamp. Okay, that's what. All right. So the way out is we have to have willpower, faith, determination, etc. Okay, and only then can we be on that path towards enlightenment, or to be worthy beings or superior beings. Okay. All right. So 4th line, by all means, we should not put on appearances. Okay, we should not do things for appearances' sake. Okay, to go against or being ignorant or concealing our conscience or our pure Buddha nature is very distressful. Okay, it's sad. It's not good. Okay, in other words, all right. So we should not fool ourselves. We should not deceive ourselves. Okay, we should not deceive ourselves by putting on appearances. What really this line means, another way of saying is that it's basically reiterating what the first half saying, that it keeps constantly saying we have to have sincerity, right? We have to maintain that highest sincerity, right? So basically that's what it's saying, is that as long as we're sincere, we're true to our true nature, our Buddha nature, we remain true. Or another way of saying this, we are, conforming. We are following that middle path, our Buddha nature, right? Okay, that's another way. This is the negative way of saying. Okay, this is the negative way. Okay, the positive way is saying that we should be sincere, right? Don't put on appearances, right? In other words, don't be insincere. Okay, that's another way of saying. All right. Okay, and because if you're insincere, really you are concealing it. You're hiding your Buddha nature, or you're ignorant. Okay, of your Buddha nature. Okay, that's another way of saying. All right. Okay, so the next line is, we must be clear that relying on feelings or emotions and material things is not reassuring in a big way. Okay, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Okay. In other words, we must understand that we cannot rely on forms and material things, forms and emotions. Just basically what the first line is saying. Okay, just a more elaboration. It's just a further elaboration of what the first line is saying. Okay, that we can never be sure. Why? Because we know emotions, feelings, thoughts, material things change constantly. Today, oh, I feel very good. I love you so much. The next day, I could hate you, right? So everything changes, right? So how can you rely on that? You can't rely on emotions. We can't rely on material things, right? That's just basically operation of the first line, right? Forms of every description, right? It's like a swamp. You can get bogged down, right? We can't rely on that, all right? So the only thing that we can rely on is our Buddha nature, okay? Because it's what? Constant. Number one, it's constant. It's eternal. It never changes, and it's always pure. It's absolute. It's pure. Okay, and from human term, you can say it's pure goodness, because that's the only way we can say it. Because when you just say pure, pure what? I mean, pure is too generic, right? Too abstract, right? So, it's perfect. You can say our Buddha nature is perfect. So we have to follow that, right? Okay, we have to follow that. So we can't rely on what? Our human emotions or material things. Oh, rely on my family, my friends. You can't, because those things changes constantly. Rely on my wealth, rely on my fame, rely on my status, power. You can't rely on those things. Those are unreliable because they're subject to change, right? So that's why. It's not reassuring, right? So to rely on any material things, feelings, emotions is not reassuring. It's not dependable, in other words. Okay? All right. Next line. Self-reflect on the simple nature, plain nature, which is our Buddha nature. Do not regard lightly or discount this pure, wonderful, virtuous nature. In other words, you can say the purity of our nature, this perfection of that true nature enables us to self-reflect. Yeah, that's another. I think really we should self-reflect and show out. Basically, another way to say it is that once we self-reflect, look inwardly, it's like looking at a mirror, okay? Our Buddha nature is like that perfect, bright mirror. It reflects everything. It shows everything clearly, okay? It's bright. You can say it's clear, bright, dazzling, and yet it doesn't attach, right? Today, we see an object, and when the object goes, it's gone. So it's not attached. So the mirror, so our Buddha nature is like that, okay? So we should self-reflect. We should constantly self-reflect. Look within to ourselves. Looking into a mirror and see our Buddha nature, our true nature, right? Right? And then, so we should not discount this because you can say it's abstract. You can say it may be difficult. Yeah, you can say that. Okay, for most people, you can say it's difficult. It's not easy, but we should not disregard this. Okay, we should not take this lightly. Okay, because this is the way towards enlightenment. Okay, that's the way. All right, Buddha did it. Right, that's Buddha's. Okay, Buddha showed us the way. Showed us the way. Okay, certainly the way towards enlightenment is not to seek wealth, fame, or power, right? Certainly that's not the case, right? Okay, so all right, so that's why we have to self-reflect. So we cannot disregard this lightly. Okay, so self-reflection. Another way of saying, you can say what is a practical interpretation of this line is say, a lot of people say, oh, we meditate. That's true. You can meditate. Meditation is to help you, well, it calms yourself. The idea is meditation, part of the meditation is to help you get rid of all unwanted thoughts, desires, etc., to discipline our mind, you can say, right? But the highest level of meditation is to be able to see yourself, you can say, right? Self-reflect. That's really what it means, okay? So that's another way of saying that, okay? All right, so next line. This is a line. It says, we should make. Oh, well, not. Yeah. I'm getting ahead of time. It's really the next line. But this line says, make sure that we follow our true nature, our master. That's our true master. For we should rely on that innate ability without being disturbed. Literally means without argument. That means, there's no argument. There's no debate. There's no doubt. Maybe another way is to say doubt. Okay, about it. There's no doubt about it. It's that we can rely on this innate or fundamental ability of our Buddha nature, right? Okay. So this is just a further elaboration. It says that we have to, rather than from the two previous lines ago, right? That says basically from two previous lines ago we talked about, right? We can't rely on material things and emotions. All right. So it says, look at how the six senses lead us. In time, even the great and mighty will fall. Okay, in Chinese he says 六贼, the 六贼, right? Those two in the first half. Literally, it means 6 thieves. Okay, that's what it means. Literally, it means 6 thieves. But what are the 6 thieves? This is in Buddhism. They call them 6 thieves. What are they? It's our 6 senses, or really 6 consciousness, 6 desires. So 6 desires. That's why it says 6 senses. Okay, it literally means 6 thieves. They call them thieves because they rob us of what? Ability to become enlightened. Okay, so that's why they call them 6 thieves, right? Because what are the 6 senses, right? Your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your touch, and your mind. Okay, those are the 6 senses, right? Okay, so and why are they called these 6 senses called 6 thieves? Because these 6 senses, cause us to they lead to the 6 consciousness, but also they lead to the 6 desires, which lead us to become attached to forms, to material things, right? So therefore, they bind us, they chain us like the swamp. They catch us, right? They mire us, they bog us down like in a swamp, right? So that's why there are 6 thieves, because they rob us of our ability to become enlightened. So that's why we have to be careful about our 6 senses. Yeah, we can see, but don't be attached to what you like. Or you hear something that's very good, don't become attached to it. Or you smell something that's very good, or you taste something that's very good, don't become attached. Right? I mean, we have the senses for a reason. They help us move about. They help us survive, you can say, okay, or live, right? But don't become attached, okay? Once they become attached, they're thieves, okay? They become thieves, all right? So that's what I mean.
Question.
Yeah.
Because you just mentioned once you see something, don't become attached. I mean, in this case, once you feel, I want to put into this love and passion itself. How do you explain that? Where does it? What category this goes?
Yeah. It depends, right? Okay. If you love something with any motivation or any ulterior motive, then that's not good. All right, that's not good. And love should be, we call it, universal compassion, universal love. Jesus called universal love, right? Love thy neighbor, right? Love thy neighbor, or do unto others as you have others do unto you, right? Right. So, passion, love, compassion is that as long as it's pure, as long as it has no motive, no ulterior motives, as long as that, then that's good. That's not considered an attachment, because that's what our Buddha nature is like, right? Our Buddha nature is forever compassionate, regardless of who you are, regardless of circumstances, There's unconditional, you could say unconditional love, all that type of stuff. All right. Now, okay, that's one thing. But if we constantly obsess about, oh, I love you so much, I love that, I want to see, we have to be careful. This love and this compassion or this passion for something, as long as it does not come with a thought, or as long as it's not initiated by a thought, that means it's unattached. Okay? Because if you have a thought, because if you have to think about it, if you have to think about, or if you have to see something, see, here's the thing. We say, oh, I saw on the news, or I saw on YouTube, whatever. Oh, look at those people, dying in the, I don't know, whatever, whatever, in the disaster or whatever. So you feel compassion for them, right? So you mean to tell me, if that's the case, you mean to tell me if you didn't see the video on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, don't you have no compassion for that? No. See, you see what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah,
See? There's a difference, right? There's a difference is what created or what aroused, stirred up that compassion, right? Is it because you saw something, or you saw a poor person, you saw something that's not right, that gave rise to compassion? Right.
But also some people very poor on the street or Montana try to help.
It again?
This is like you say, you had that feeling, just do.
Right.
Not in my hand, say and do.
Yeah, right.
This what I try to use.
Yeah, but is that really helping? Is that a real help?
Because God saw you, did a good heart.
The help that they need is to become independent. They are becoming slaves of their own pittance, and you feel me? Like, just now, how many poor people are out there? You understand? I'm very compassionate. I even cry for things like that. But then I started realizing that that's not the help they need. That's not the help they need if you have to always give them money. I think they need different type of help, so they can, get on their own feet.
Yeah. That's down the road. Okay, first is we are trying to describe or be clear or identify the what and maybe why. Okay, the what and why. Then the next question is then how. Okay, that's down the road. Okay, that's down the road. We're not at that point. Okay, because how. See, the how, in other words, method, or the means, or whatever, it's variable. It depends on the situation. The how. There's no one size fits all. Okay, so a lot of people say, oh, we should let the government take care of it. In general, that's okay, but even then, there's a problem with that. Okay, because the how requires. It's subject to conditions. So I'm trying to say there are different conditions, right? There are different circumstances. So how you do it, how you achieve it, is different from one situation to another. Okay, so that's the nitty gritty. That's the details. Okay, that's the nuts and bolts. We're not talking about that. Okay, that's technical stuff. That's technical. That's very technical. The question is the why and the how, the what and the why. So the what and the why is that. So back to my question. So the question you have to ask yourself, did my compassion arise because I saw something that made me feel bad? Or see, that type of compassion, we have to be careful, that type of emotion or love or whatever, pitifulness or whatever, empathy, sympathy, whatever you want to call it. Okay, that's different than what a Buddha's compassion. Buddha's compassion is compassion whether or not we know about it, or we hear of it, or we see it. You see what I'm trying to say? There's a difference. So you have to be, to maintain that level of 100% or constant compassion, or constant mindfulness, or constant care, love, forgiveness, etc. It's not easy without a thought, without even seeing. I don't have to see. A Buddha does not have to see a disaster, a calamity, or poor people suffering in order to have compassion for them. You see what I'm trying to say? We humans go about our business, it doesn't affect me, my family, my neighborhood, I don't know what's happening halfway around the world. It's their business, okay, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that you don't have compassion, but until when you see something, you say, oh my God, it's really that bad. You see what I'm trying to say? There's a difference between how that compassion. So a Buddha's compassion, or a compassion for our true nature, comes from not from seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, or anything. You see what I'm trying to say? It's beyond our senses. Yes.
Okay, so when this exists and you experience compassion, what do you do about it?
Well, then that's the how. So what do you do? Yeah. Okay. Well, it depends. Okay.
Do you pray for them?
Yeah. Okay. So then that becomes the how. Okay. How do you do things? Yeah. There are different ways. Yeah. I mean, you do what you can. It's very simple. You do what you can. Okay. You do what you can. Okay. You don't have to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to give up my job and give up. No, you don't have to do that. That's the how, right? These how are variable. They're variable. Now, you do according to what you think you can do. That's it. You can say that's the general rule. That's the general rule. Okay? There's no set rule. I mean, if we belong to a church, they say, oh yeah, every Sunday you give a tenth, right? A tithe. That's what it says in the Bible, in the Old Testament, right? You give a tenth, right? You donate. Yeah, you donate. So that what? The money is supposed to help the poor, whatever, the less fortunate, whatever, for good things, right? Charity, right? Yeah, you could do that too. But it's not fixed, right? I mean, there's no law that says, oh, you have to give 10% or 15% or 9% or 5%, whatever. It's variable. See, all these questions are technical questions. They're like a question of how. Depends on your means. If I don't have a job, what can I do? I can't give any money. I have no job. What can I do? Right? So it depends.
But the 10% that they're speaking in the Bible, you know the Bible has been tampered with.
Well, yeah.
The 10% came from when the farmer harvested in the fall. He kept 10% aside.
Yeah.
So that he could plant it.
Right. Yeah, they're different. Yeah. It's not that. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not. So when we ask, oh, I feel bad or I feel compassion, I want to do. There are different ways. Okay, there are many different ways. But the most important thing to remember, to bear in mind, or some general principles, is that whatever you do, it has to be. Right? It has to be proper. You can't say, oh, I'm going to rob somebody and I'm going to give it up. I robbed from Peter to pay Peter. Right? Robin Hood. Right? Robin Hood. I robbed from the rich to give to the poor. Okay. Even though your goal is maybe admirable, but the means is not. Right? So once again, that's technical. These are technical issues. These are how. Right? How. Technical. How. What is the method? What is the way? What is the policy? What is the procedure, right? So we're not talking about that because it's variable. They're infinite. They're literally infinite ways. Okay, so we don't talk about that because what the whole point about learning the Tao is you have to learn the principle. Once you understand the principle, the methods will flow depending on the situation. So why do we get bogged down learning about 1,000 or 1,000,000 different ways? Huh? The key thing is know one principle, know the main principle, and then the rest will follow. Right? So that's where the thrust, the emphasis on all our Dharma is. That's the idea of the Dharma. That's the whole point of the Dharma, is to learn the principle, the key principle, the fundamental principles, the how and what. The why and what. You can say why or what, right? What is it and why is it? What and why. And then the how will follow, the technical. Those are the technical details. That will follow depending on the situation. Depends on the situation. I can't give you a precise answer. It depends on the situation. Right? You see what I'm saying? So that's why we don't, the Buddhists never talk about, or rarely talk about the how. Yes, they do. They have parables. They have stories. They have parables. That's the why. That's the how. Sorry. Okay. That's the specific. But the key is the principle, right? What's the principle? So the principle is that our compassion, to answer her question, the love, the family, as long as it's not generated as long as it comes about spontaneously. Maybe a different way to say it. As long as it's spontaneous. It's not provoked or stirred up or initiated by anything else. You see what I'm saying?
Selfless.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea is as long as that compassion, that love, that passion, whatever comes from your Buddha nature, that's the key thing. That's the key. Now, people will say, oh, how do I know it comes from a Buddha nature? Well, the question is, did you see it first? Did you see it and that's what happened? No, right? If you see it, then it's not from your Buddha nature. You see what I'm trying to say? Or if you hear it and it comes, that's not your Buddha nature. All right?
Yes.
Because it's based upon what you heard, or based upon what you saw, based upon what you smell, based on what you touch. That's not your Buddha nature. Right. So it has to come from within that Buddha nature. So there's a difference between, now we understand, how undescribable or unimaginable the Buddha's compassion is. Because they are always compassionate without having to see, hear, touch, feel anything. You see what I'm saying? That's it. So the question is, can we humans become like that? That's the question. All right? And that's really what enlightenment will get you there. Okay? We'll reveal that. We'll reveal that. Allow that. Okay? So that answers your question. So it's not based upon what you see, hear, touch. Okay? The key is you ask yourself, did that come because I smelled it first, or I saw it, then that's what. No, you always should have compassion. So to say that, but that's not to say that, we hear about disasters, we shouldn't give. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. Okay? It doesn't mean that. All right? It doesn't mean that you can't help people after you saw something. No, but you have to understand, realize, that compassion, that level of compassion is very different from what a Buddha's compassion is. Okay? You realize that, right? So we have a gap. So you should say, we should always be compassionate. Always. Whether or not you see, hear, touch, whatever, doesn't matter. You see? So that's not easy, right? That's not easy.
But that's my problem.
That's not easy. Right. So that's not easy, right? So that's why we're humans. We're not Buddhas yet. Okay? Understand? Right? There's a distinction. Okay? So that's clear. So that's what it means. All right. So what it means is the great and mighty will fall. It means that they leave with a what? Not with a bang, but with a whimper. What means the great and mighty means that what he's talking about. What are the six senses? The six desires drives us for what? Wealth, fame, and status. So I want to achieve this. I want to be the richest, or I want to be the most powerful, or I want to be the most famous. Yeah, you can become great and mighty. But what happens? You come in with a bang, but you're going to sometimes what? Fortunes could turn, right? They're not permanent. You're going to leave with a whimper, with a whisper, or go away quietly. Okay? So that's what it means. So all these worldly pursuits are not permanent, right? They're not everlasting, right? They're not eternal. So you come in with a big bang, but you leave with a whimper. Okay? So that's what it means. Okay? So there's no glory. Okay? All right? All right? So that's what that line means, okay? The last line, how can we allow passions and desires to trouble us? We will not be argumentative when we hold fast to our true master. Yeah. So that's just another more further elaboration of what the previous lines are saying, is that if we do not follow our Buddha nature, or if we do not hold on to it, then we are subject. We will be subject to what? The whims or capriciousness, right? The capriciousness or unpredictableness, right? Of what? Passions, desires. So that will then what? Trouble us. That's when that will start disturbing our peace of mind, right? Okay. So the only way is that to what? Hold fast to that middle path, to understand our Buddha nature, to become, to allow the Buddha nature to take control. Maybe that's another way of saying. So we won't argue. So there's no debate. What I'm trying to say is there's no argument there's no debate. In other words, there won't be any more troubles, any more concerns. Okay, once if we allow our Buddha nature to take hold, our true master, right? Just like on the previous 4 lines, right? If we allow our Buddha nature to guide us, to lead us, then we won't have then these passion, desires will no longer trouble us. So there's no argument there. Okay? So that's what that last one. Okay? Last page, page 4. So we need not search for this outwardly. Okay? For this it means Buddha nature outwardly. So everyone does not lack it. Yeah, people say, "Oh, I want to become powerful." Well, first of all, I need money, I need influence, I need friends, what? Everybody. See, this is why you can say heaven is fair, because everybody, regardless of your background, education, etc., we all have this Buddha nature. So therefore, there's nothing lacking. Everybody is the same. So everybody has the same opportunity. In other words, maybe another way of saying, everybody has the same opportunity. All right? So we don't have to search for it outside of ourselves. It's all within yourselves. Okay? It's all within. Okay? So this is okay. So this is very, very basic, saying that we don't have to search for what? For peace of mind or whatever. In other words, we do not have to search for enlightenment outside of ourselves. It's all within. Okay? It's all within ourselves. Because everyone has that Buddha nature. Okay? So that's what that means. Okay? Yeah, it literally means does not have any less, or does not have sufficiently less. Okay, so that's what that last portion means. Okay, literally it means that, but it just means that nobody lacks it. Okay, everybody has it. In other words, okay, everybody has it. Right. So the next line means all the virtuous or superior beings earnestly or conscientiously reflect deeply, self-reflect. Okay, for this innate wisdom is within oneself all along. Okay, that's just another further elaboration from the previous line that, oh, we don't have to search it, look for it outside of ourselves, or nobody lacks it, right? Because it's within you. It's within all of us all along, this whole time. Everybody has it. All right, it's always within oneself. Okay, that this Buddha nature is within ourselves. This true master, this perfect, bright, jade heart, or whatever you want to call it, perfection. Okay, it's all within ourselves. That's why all the superior beings, the people who are seeking enlightenment, understood that. So they conscientiously self-reflect. They always look within. Okay? Next line. When our nature, okay, or mind, you can say that, is still, and emotions are at ease, then our hearts and minds are clear. Okay, then we can see. It's like that mirror, right? When we no longer are clouded by desires, wishes, right, ambitions, worldly pursuits, then the mirror is so bright. It's right in front of you. It's so clear. Okay, so to follow the Tao, and to practice the Tao, and to nourish our virtues or moral character, we can transcend or elevate, go beyond this material world. Okay, literally it means secular world. Okay, that's the right. Okay, yeah. So that means, okay. So this is it's right. So this is just basically another way of saying that once we reflect deeply, when we get rid of or remove our desires, our emotions, our wants, desires, feelings, all that stuff, then our mind becomes clear. Then it's like you can see to the bottom of the pool or the pond, right? Same idea, okay? Next line. For all forms, all materials, literally means forms and shapes, okay? So all materials are illusions. So that's the conclusion, okay? For there is a spiritual food that will satisfy an entire life, or all one's life. So what he's talking about is that, describing is that once we understand or realize that how wonderful this Buddha nature is, that all of us has, that nobody lacks, that everyone has, then you understand that all forms, desires, feelings are illusions, are essential illusions, because they don't last. Okay, literally it means fantasies or bubbles, like bubbles. Bubbles, they disappear. They form and disappear, right? So that's what all forms, all emotions are like that. For our Buddha nature is that spiritual food that can feed us for a lifetime. It's not, we no longer rely on material food. Okay, so basically it's saying that we no longer have to search outwardly to satisfy that hunger, right? because that spiritual food is within all of us. We have it. Okay, for it is in the Tao Te Ching. Okay, there's a line. I forgot what chapter it is. It's in the earlier chapters. I forgot, but it says it's like a well that never dries. Okay, a well that keeps giving you water that never dries, that never go dry. All right. Okay, so it's the same idea. Okay, same idea. All right. So since this is referring to the Tao Te Ching, really, but those two words. But anyway, okay. And then the last line says, basically, it's a conclusion. It's basically wrapping it up. It says, we need not focus excessively, or some people say bicker over. Bicker over. Literally, that's what it means, to bicker over the mundane. So literally, it means the secularly or worldly things. Okay. So there won't be any confusion about the truth. Or another way of saying is that if we can avoid being too caught up in this material world, then the truth will not be easily obscured. All right, makes sense. So basically, it's a conclusion. All right. So once again, we're talking about this principle, right? This main principle, the what and why. Sorry, of what our Buddha nature is. Okay. So the whole main point is we have to understand what is that Buddha nature. We have to realize it, and the more we realize it, the less desires, worries will bother us. Okay, will bind us. Will trap us like the swamp. Okay, so basically this is a wrapping up. The conclusion says, now that you hopefully have a little bit better understanding of how marvelous this Buddha nature is. I know it's very abstract. You can't see it, you can't touch it, unfortunately, right? But it is so marvelous that as long as we try to, we head to that direction, we try to uncover it more and more, okay, we'll realize that, all these desires, all these emotions, these forms, all these passions are actually illusions, right? Okay, and that those are the things that we should not pursue because they will trap us, they will bind us, they will bog us down like a swamp, okay, and prevent us from you can say, from becoming enlightened, or from transcending samsara, right? That's the more practical way, right? Enlightenment maybe sounds too abstract, right? But basically, the practical side is basically to to avoid reincarnation. That's the practical side. Okay, that's the samsara, right? Okay, so that's basically all right. So the second, in page 3, you'll see all those red words once again, and that's the second word. Okay, second word means 重. Literally, it means 重 can mean heavy. It can mean heavy, or emphasis, or focus, literally it means heavy. Literally, that's what it means. Or it could also mean 从. It could also mean from, or to, or follow to. But anyway, the two words combined, 直重 literally means, literally, the dictionary meaning, those two words now combined means logistics, army supply, logistics. Okay, so kind of like what's the theme? The logistics basically means that. Well, I think did we talk about last week? I think we talked about that Marvis scripture, right? That we have the handout, right? You guys had the handout from last week. I think you had it in the last page, the third to the last page, before the song, right? Before that Eternal Harbor, you talk about what the 直重, right? What that means, okay? It means, you can say it's army supply chain, logistics. It just means that, that's applied in a military or whatever, or logistic. But what it really means is it applies to a human, to an individual terms. It's really, he is the holy teacher, or the Buddhas, the immortal Li and holy teacher, are using logistics as a metaphor to describe our Buddha nature, saying that we need that Buddha nature. And it's the logistics of our life, for our existence, Without that, we cannot survive. We cannot live. Okay? Let alone live. We cannot survive, let alone live. So just like parallel to what logistics is to a military, to the army. Without logistics, an army cannot fight, cannot survive. You understand? Without logistics. Or really, for business, really, for Amazon, for Apple, for whoever, okay? Without logistics, Walmart, without logistics, without supply chain, they can't survive as a business. They can't fulfill their business goal. You know what I'm saying? So same idea, okay? So holy teacher or the Buddhas are using logistics as a metaphor to describe what our Buddha nature is for us. Okay, how important, how vital, how essential it is. For without that Buddha nature, we can't live, let alone survive. You understand? So that's the metaphor. Okay? So that's what. And so when you read the what we went through, the marvelous scripture, yeah, it basically talks about that how important that Buddha nature is, how it is key to everything. So if we could understand it, if we could realize it, not 100%. You don't have to 100% right now. As long as you realize a little bit, you understand how important it is. And so therefore we should what? Now to realize it more, to realize it completely, we have to what? Get rid of our desires, attachments, forms. Don't be bound by these forms. Okay? Right? Make sense? Make sense? So that's basically the theme. You can say the theme. It goes in line theme with the two characters, the zizong, logistics. Logistics basically describing our Buddha nature. All right. So any questions about the scripture? I think I explained it in pretty much detail. I mean, it's you can say in some respects it's abstract. We're talking about philosophy. You can say okay, but that's what it is. That true nature is like that. It's abstract. It's pure. It's not tangible, unfortunately, right?
Pure nature, like
okay, right? It's intangible, but you can describe it. You can give it different descriptions, and that's where you can go into the detail. The what is the you say the 6 parameters. You can use Confucius's 5 constants, 8 virtues. Okay, those are all you can say descriptions of what our Buddha nature is like. Okay, it's like this, or it's like. Okay,
I
all right,
the book,
all right, okay, yeah.
Strange,
all right,
very.
But don't forget. Remember, this is a Dharma class, so that's why Buddha is only talking about it at a very basic level. Very, just say what it is. What it is. Okay, what is it? Now, if you want to know more about it, understand, you go to class, you learn, you read the 4 books, you read the Dao De Jing. Okay, that's the Dao De Jing, the book of the virtue and the way, or the Diamond Sutra or the Heart Sutra. Okay, those are that's if you want to really go more in depth understanding what it's like. Then you pursue that. You could go that, right? But in this class, because this is a Dharma class, it's just a basic class, right? It's like the first grade. It's like a first grade level.
Like you go kindergarten.
Right. So just to introduce. All right.
Yes.
So I have a little since we have some time. So since there's a little story I want to tell you. It's not a funny story. It could be funny. It could be humorous. But it's a classic. It's a classic story that they use in Zen, a lot in Zen. Okay, I don't know if you're familiar with. There's an ancient Chinese philosopher. His name is Zhuangzi. Okay, Zhuangzi. He lived about 2,500 years old, roughly before Buddha. A little bit around the same time, roughly the same time as Buddha. Roughly 2,500 years ago. Okay, this is a story. It's called 乐于词. Right? Have you heard 乐于? 快乐的乐，乐于故事. Yeah, very famous story.
Translation.
Happy minnows.
Happy minnows.
The story of the happy minnows. Minnows means fish.
Minnows?
Small fish, tiny fish. Okay, one day, Zhuangzi, he's a philosopher. Zhuangzi was walking with he has a good companion. His name is Chu. No, what's his name? I forgot his name. He's a well-known logician. Logician, you guys know what logician means?
No.
Logician. It's a branch of philosophy that talks about logic. Logician. Yeah. Pythagoras. Anybody remember Pythagoras? You guys remember Pythagorean theorem? in geometry?
Oh, by the way,
Pythagoras?
Of
You guys know
course.
Pythagoras? Well, he's a logician. Well, he's a philosopher too.
Philosopher,
Pythagoras, but he's
logician,
also
yeah.
a mathematician. Yeah, he is logician.
oh, by the way,
Okay.
he was vegetarian.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true too.
really?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, this guy, this philosopher, he's well known. He's I forgot his name. It's I have it written down. I think his name is, I want to say it's Chu Zi or Fu Zi. No, Fu Zi or Chu Zi. I forgot his name. But anyway, he's a well-known logician. Okay, he's very sharp mind. Okay, very sharp mind. But anyway, so him and Zhuangzi, they always debate. They like to debate a lot because Zhuangzi is in China. If you read Chinese philosophy, he's well known for we talk about Taoism. Okay, he follows the teachings of, you can say, Lao Tzu. Okay, Tao, and Fu Zi, I think his name is Fu Zi. Anyway, Fu Zi. He follows logic, especially that's during the time. Okay, during that time, it's the late warring period. You can say it's before Shi Huangdi, or the first self-declared emperor. Okay, Qin Shi Huang. Okay, so during that period, it's called the 100 Schools of Thought. It's very famous. It's a classical era. It's also there's a contemporary parallel in ancient in Greece too. Yeah, in Greece, the philosophy where many different thoughts of philosophy flourished, and not just philosophy, arts, all that stuff. Okay, whatever. But same thing in China. Okay, so it's called the 100 Schools. Bai Xue, right? Bai Xue, Bai Jia, 100 的家. 100. It's called the 100 Schools of Thought. 100 schools. Okay, it's not literally 100. It just means many. Okay, during that time. So anyway, yeah.
Mao Zedong came with 1,000 schools.
Right. But anyway, but the 100 schools. One of them is called logician. There's also 魔家. There's 法家. There is 法家, 什么主家. That's different. Okay, his school is called, I forgot it's called, but anyway, it's called logic. Okay, logician. Anyway, okay, so they're walking on they're by a lake. Okay, little lake. I forgot the name of that river. It's one of the rivers. It's famous. Okay, and they're crossing a little bridge. Okay, all right, they're walking. So Zhuangzi happened to look over the bridge and a pond. It was a lake, a little pond, and he saw the minnows. Jumping about, splashing about. So he said to his little fish. So he said to his companion, Fu, I think his name is Fu Zi, said, "Oh, look, Fu Zi, see how those minnows are jumping about, playing around in the pond and the what? They see how happy they are." So he says, "Oh, how happy they are." And then so Fu Zi says, "Hey, wait a minute, because he's a logician, right? He's a philosopher too, but he uses logic, right? So he says, wait a minute, hold on, Zhuangzi. You are not the fish. You are definitely not the fish. I know that. You're not the fish. So how do you know that the fish are happy? These minnows are happy." That's a logical question. It's logical. So Zhuangzi replied, he goes, "You are not me, right? You are not me, Fu Zi. You are not me. So how do you know that I do not know that the minnows are happy?" It's logic, okay?
That's a great.
Right, okay, all right. So Fu Zi responded back, says, "Okay, yes, I am not you. Okay, I know that. But I also know that you are not the fish. You're not a minnow. So how do you know? How do you know that the fish is happy? Are happy. So what did Zhuangzi say? Zhuangzi responds, "Oh, let's go back. Very first question you asked me." Fu Zi asked him, right? Says, he said, "Zhuangzi, you are not the fish. So how do you know that the fish are happy?" So Zhuangzi is saying, you already implied, because you asked me, how do I know? Right? You already implied that I know something. I knew. Okay? And so basically Zhuangzi says, you already implied that I know something. So therefore, since you are not me, I know. You cannot deny that. See, so here's the difference. Okay, some people say this is as a joke. This is a classic example of communication between a philosopher and a logician. Okay, so or a Taoist and a logician. Okay, basically, you said there's a gap, okay? And here's why. There are two ways to understand this story, okay? To understand the story. Two ways, okay? One more on an abstract, the other one more on a practical level. Okay, the abstract level is this, since we're talking about principles. It's this. If you are enlightened, right? If you are enlightened, the key is you have to be enlightened, right? If you are enlightened, what is this page? What's it? Page 2? Is it page 2 that says for it can expand to encompass everything. The second to the last line on page 2, right? So it says, if you are enlightened, our Buddha nature will encompass everything. You see what I'm saying? It's not beyond just what? Bound within our own body. You see what I'm trying to say? So I'm talking about on an abstract, on a theory level, on a principle level, okay? On a principle plane to explain. So when Zhuangzi, because he's enlightened, his Buddha nature encompasses everything. So his Buddha nature is at one with the fish. You see what I'm trying to say? So he identifies, so he can see the fish is happy. He can see that. You see what I'm trying to say? Whereas Fuzi, the logician, he's still saying, he's still bound by I and you, right? I know I'm not you, and I know you're not the fish, right? So he's still bound by those four images. You see what I'm trying to say? Those four images. So he still has separation, you see, between I, you, the fish, and everything else. So of course he's not going to understand that the fish is happy. Yeah?
I think that also the way I see it, also the logician, he uses reasoning, which is very limited.
Yes.
The Taoist is using intuition, which is a superior form of
you can say that. You can say intuition, right? Okay. Now, so it's really not reasoning, right? You don't have to use reasoning, okay? Yeah. So that's the one explanation. Here's the other explanation. From Zhuangzi's part of it, he already has no separation because he's enlightened. No separation between, remember I said between him and the fish or anything else. So he can say that. Another way of looking at it is, you can say from a more practical manner is that the fish, remember we talked about the middle way, right? Humans have to conform to the middle way, right? We should follow the middle path, right? One way to say means that we should not go to extremes. That's one way. That's one way to explain that. So when I said when Zhuangzi says, okay, humans have to, we humans have our middle way. Animals, in this case, fishes, also have their way, have their path. So fishes are what? These fishes are behaving, are following the nature, what fish normally do. They jump out and swim. So as long as they are following their path, they're happy. You see what I'm trying to say? That's another way. That's a practical way of viewing it. Just like birds. Birds are flying about. They're chirping in the morning.
They're happy.
Right, because they are following their path. That's what birds do. Birds fly. Birds don't swim, right? Fishes don't fly. Fishes swim. They jump about in the water. They do what they're supposed to do. They're doing what they're supposed to do. You understand? That's from a practical level. In other words, they're following their path. What I'm trying to say is the fishes or birds fly and sing and chirp. That's what birds are supposed to do.
They are practicing their Dharma.
Right. Isn't that what birds are supposed to do? Right? It'll be weird if I don't see birds flying around, right? It'll be weird if you see birds swimming around or walking around or jumping around. That's weird, right?
But he keeps walking around.
Right? But if birds are flying, they are what? Following what their nature says, dictates. You can say their path. Likewise, fishes. The fishes are swimming around, jumping around. That's what they're doing. That's what they're supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? So Zhuangzi can see that. You see what I'm saying? So he said, that's why they're happy. You see what I'm saying? So likewise, humans, we have to follow our middle path, right? Follow our Buddha nature. If we do, we're happy. Otherwise, if we don't, we what? We follow our desires, emotions, passions. Yeah, there are times that you can be happy, but there are times you can be sad, right? Up and down, right? Change, constant change. You see what I'm saying? See, so that's on a practical level. That's how you understand that story now? You can understand that. So on a practical plane explanation, there's a practical reason why Zhuangzi can say that, and there's a, you can say, abstract or principle or theory reason approach to why he can say that. You understand?
All right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Good story, right? So now when people tell you that story, you can say, I know why. I understand it. Okay? You understand? It's a very good story, right? Very, no. They use a lot. It's a very well-known. It's called Happy Minnow. The story of the happy minnows or fish, okay, in a pond or something like that. It's some kind of river. It's famous. It's classic. You can go to that. You can still go visit that river in China, okay, or that bridge, whatever. It's very famous. So all classical philosophers know that story, okay. So it's very strong. So it's a good story, right? It illustrates the principle. So I'm trying to say it illustrates the principle, right, from a both practical and you can say principle or high level perspective, right? Right? Makes sense?
Makes sense.
Good? Yeah? So now you know that story. Alright? So it's a good story, right? It's a good story. So, right? So if we humans should, like the fish, we should follow what the proper way is, path. Then we'll be happy. It's very simple. Right? If you see the fish flying, then something's wrong. Then something's weird. Then something's weird. Right? Or if they're crawling on land. Yes, there are fish that can go on land. That's true. But that's weird. Then that's kind of weird. So humans likewise. If we don't follow them in the path, then that's weird. Then you're weird. If we pursue wealth, power, fame, that's really deviant. That's really weird. Even though in today's society, I say that's the right thing, man. That's the right thing. Look at Donald Trump, man. I mean, look, I want to be like him, man. I want to be famous, man. Maybe not his hair, but maybe, that, like that. Okay?
Oh my God.
See? You see what I'm trying to say? I mean, he wants to be a president now. Come on. I mean, whatever. So look. I mean, he wants power, man. He wants power, right? He wants fame and power. He has wealth already, right? He probably has some fame, but, he wants power next. So, I mean, hey, we should be doing that, right? No. That's not really the middle way. You see? It's amazing, right?
Amazing.
Different perspective from a Buddhist perspective versus an ordinary human being, right? Different perspective. You see? So here's the question. Do you want to be like Zhuangzi or do you want to be like that logician? That's the question, right? That's the question. Okay? Makes sense? So that's a good illustration, right? That's a good story.
Yes.
It's a good story to
He
know.
doesn't tell us stories that much, so we have to appreciate.
Oh, I have a lot of stories.
Thank you so much.
But
You should tell us more stories.
No. Well, there's another story about Shibuti, but it's going to take too long. Shibuti is known for Diamond Sutra, right? He's the director in Diamond Sutra. He's known for he's one of the top 10 disciples of Buddha, right? He's most known for. They say he's compassion. That's true. He's compassion, but he's also known for understanding the concept of emptiness, sunyata, emptiness. Very important. But as a matter of fact, his name implies emptiness. I mean, it depends on how you parse the word, because that's one thing about this in classic Hindu or Sanskrit, in Chinese to some degree too, where it says how you break up his word, his name, Shibuti. It depends on how you, because it's based on combinations of words. It's what it is. Depending on how you break it up, it can mean a couple of things. One interpretation of his name, Shibuti, it means literally it means to be born of emptiness. And it makes sense with what he came out to be, what he achieved, what he became known for. That's one way. The other interpretation of his name is born of auspiciousness. That's another way to interpret. And as a matter of fact, there's a story about how when he was born, supposedly when he was born, he came from a wealthy family. Shibuti was a Brahmin. He could say he's I don't know if he's a Brahmin, but he came from a very wealthy family. And supposedly the day that he was born, in their family safe, they have a big safe or storehouse. Supposedly, the day that he was born, all the gold disappeared. Supposedly, that's and then 7 days later, it reappeared. So they say so his name is so that's why they gave him his name. That Shibuti literally means that he was born of emptiness. The day he was born, and then 7 days later, the gold reappeared. So it's auspicious too, fortunate, lucky. So.